Today's Manna. 가스펠라이프 철치 데니얼 킴 목사가 보내드리는 시간입니다.
Hello, good morning everybody from KCBS. This is Pastor Daniel and welcome to today's Manna. When I first joined this church as staff, I remember walking into a church building and one of the person in hospitality team, a greeter, shook my hand and she said, "Hey, I hope you enjoy the service." As a man who was studying the Word of God at Moody Bible Institute, I don't know why, but just that sentence somehow bothered me. I'm sure she had no ill intention, no bad intention, but for some reason, this word called enjoy the service, enjoy the worship was something that I just could not really sit well. And when I actually look at the theology of worship, when I think about the importance of worship, I believe that worship is not something that you and I always enter and just something that you receive, but rather, the Bible makes it so clear that it is something that you go and you give to our sovereign Father. Psalm chapter 95, verse 6, we see David proclaiming here, saying, "Come, let us worship and bow down. Let us kneel before the Lord, our Maker." The question that when you enter the throne of God in worship setting is not about, how can this worship benefit me? Maybe you might be thinking, man, I had a tough week and man, I cannot wait to actually feel encouraged then. But this is not the attitude of worship that David is saying in Psalm chapter 95. Rather, he says, let us worship and bow down, which is talking about the sense of submission. And he says, let us kneel before the Lord, our Maker. So let's take a look at three things of what worship actually means here. And the first thing is for you to remember that worship is a response to who God is. Worship is a response to who God is, and this is why. It is not something when you come trying to get something, trying to gain something out of worship, but rather it is a response of you realizing who God is in this character. Imagine a child running into the father after such a long day. You missed the dad, you're so tired, and you now run to the father, and you're now running to the father so that you can gain something out of it because you recognize your father's love and power and presence in the kid's life. I think this is the same way as you run to the Father in our spiritual Father, where you're tired, you're worn out. However, you don't go to the Father so that you can get fed, but rather you go to the Father because of His divine character, of how loving He is, how powerful He is, and how much of a present that He has been in our life. One thing that I want you to pause is to reflect on who God is in your life. Is He a creator? Is He a sustainer? Is He a redeemer? Is he the sovereign Father? The question that you and I must be asking is, how does this truth shape your act of worship? Second thing is, you and I must enter this season of worship as an act of submission. You must see this concept of worship as an act of submission. One thing that I want you to imagine for a moment is a knight who fights for the king. And when knight actually goes to the king, you see a knight kneeling before the king by acknowledging his authority. In the same way, bowing down to God has the same symbolization of surrendering and dependence on Him. You don't go to the throne of God and say, God, what can you do for me here during this season? God, I have a broken family, my job is terrible, and my relationship with my girlfriend, my spouse is not going well. God, what can you do to me is not the question, but rather you go and you bow down and you kneel down to the King of Kings. And now you ask the question of, God, how can I surrender my life to you more than ever throughout the week? Last thing is worship is a lifestyle. It's not just something you come during midweek or even Sunday morning to come and just see what the Lord can do. But rather, you must incorporate worship in your daily life. This can be from prayer. This can be from gratitude. This can be a form of obedience where you must be living in the constant worship. Worship is not just something you come and you experience. Obviously, I believe that God works through people in the corporate worship, but worship is something that must be incorporated in your personal lifestyle. You must be thinking, you must be meditating on the Word on the day and night. You must pray, and I want to encourage you, incorporate the style, incorporate the lifestyle of worship in your daily life, and now we're going to see what God's going to do through your incredible submission of obedience.
지금까지 가스펠라이프 철치의 데니얼 킴 목사였습니다. 성경이나 예수 그리스도에 관해서 더 알기를 원하시는 분은 시카고 기독교 방송 전화 847-583 영원 구원으로 연락 바랍니다.